Welcome to Pregame.com's preview of the Chicago Bulls Miami Heat playoff series. It's the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm joined with Stephen Nover. Stephen, here we are. We got the two best teams, the number one, the number two seed, battling it out. I mean, that's the way on paper it's supposed to end up. You're supposed to get the top two. For it being the top two and the Chicago Bulls being the number one seed, this line just baffles me. The series price is minus 190. Miami Heat. Not the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat. And I'm a guy about value. I'm a guy that likes to go against public perception. And you tell me what you think, but to me, the public perception couldn't be higher right now than it is on the Miami Heat.
Right, and I think that factored into the line, Marco. I think the odds maker isn't interested in putting out a fair on what the number maybe should be. He's putting it out on how the betting will probably be, and he figures the public is going to be on LeBron James, Dwayne Heat in the Miami Heat. So that's why it is priced a little high. I agree with you. I was a little surprised that it was high priced like that, but I think that's the main reason why.
Well, they know it's going to come that way, and I know that too. I just don't understand what people are looking at, though. Did you watch the games? I mean, let's be realistic. Miami got Philadelphia in the first round. Philadelphia was perfectly suited for the Miami team. Miami should have dismissed them in 4 straight. They put them away, but they only had one blowout. They let Philadelphia hang around in most of those games. They weren't dominant. Then they move on to play the Celtics. The Celtics took care of the Knicks in 4 straight. But let's be realistic. They should have lost game 1 and 2. The Knicks melted down in the final minute and a half of both of the first 2 games in Boston, where they had total control of the game from the start and just didn't make the key shots. They let Boston hang around. You had that veteran leadership that made the plays when the pressure was on. Then when they went to New York, they got blown out in the 2 games in New York. Stoudemire had the back spasms. Chauncey Billups was hurt. It was perfect for Boston. They caught breaks. Boston didn't get exposed for who they were. When they played Miami, they got exposed. They played good, but they weren't deep enough to hold off the Heat. In all the games they lost, and I'll tell you what, give Boston credit. The last 2 games, banged up the way they were, with Rondo and everything, to do what they did and almost still beat Miami. I mean, when they went to overtime, they were just out of gas in Game 4. And then when they went back to Miami, you would have thought that they would have just got run out of the building after blowing Game 4. But they had the lead till the final 4 minutes of the game and then didn't score a point for the last 16 points of the game. How is Miami, please tell me how we can look at this at 190 with an open conscience.
Well, Marco, first to address your point about Boston, they certainly went out with a lot more class than another team. The Los Angeles Lakers did. They just ran out of gas. But
the producer's going to cut your mic right now because he's a big Laker fan. Your first day back and you're going to get tossed, all right?
Well, I told you I would make some controversy.
Let me just tell you, I mean, this is a controversial guy. He comes in, the first thing he does is he makes a Green Bay Packer reference joke in front of RJ and me, 2 big Steeler fans because his Packers won the Super Bowl. Now you're insulting the producer. How are you going to get on air?
Well, I'll say this, and then I won't talk about the Lakers anymore. Andrew Bynum, one of the most classless fouls I've ever seen.
I would expect that from Ron Artest. Bynum really shocked me.
Yeah, but back to our original argument here. Not disagreeing with what you say about Miami, but let's look at the other side. Let's look at the Bulls. Were they impressive against Indiana, the worst of all the playoff teams in the East, the worst of all the playoff teams, period? No, they were not impressive. And then they struggled a little bit with Atlanta. We all know Atlanta. Atlanta showed their true colors this last game, blown out at home. I mean, they're a head case team with bad chemistry, and so the Bulls have not been impressive either.
Well, to be devil's advocate to you, the Bulls were in a position they've never been in before. They come into the play. I mean, this is a team, young players. They, not a lot of playoff experience, not a number 1 seed, obviously, before. The Indiana series, I'm forgiving in the fact that I think They came into that series thinking we just had to show up and we were going to win, and Indiana did give them a battle. But I was more impressed with them, what they did against Atlanta. And when I look at the games, they lost game 1, then they got focused in game 2 and 3 and handled Atlanta easily in games 2 and 3. Then all of a sudden, you've got that young team and experience where it looked like in game 4, they didn't play with that defensive intensity that they did in the other games. It's like, again, we just have to show up and we can win. Atlanta stole game 4.
That's 2 games they stole. Game 1 and game 4. Not just 1, 2 games.
That's 2 games they stole. But they took care of business back in Chicago, and then they came out with total focus in game 6 last night against Atlanta. And to me, the defense is going to be the key in here. Forget the fact, because when we look at Miami, we know we're looking at Dwayne Wade, we're looking at LeBron James and Chris Bosh. Offensive juggernaut with those 3. But the thing that kept Boston in the series against Miami and kept them in those games, to me, was the hard-nosed defense. And I think the Bulls' defense is every bit as good or better than Boston's. The difference is they're a lot younger, and they're not going to tire out.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative towards the Bulls in talking up the Heat, who I think are going to win the series, not disagreeing either that the value is on the Bulls. But, excuse me, value might be great, but you want to cash. And I think Miami is the right way to go in the series. LeBron, who is the Heat now, he's gotten close. Wade has won a ring. I mean, what have the Bulls won? I mean, Derrick Rose is a great player, but these guys have not won anything, and there's a certain hierarchy that you got to go through in the NBA. Rarely will one team just leap all the way and go all the way and win it all. You got to kind of pay some dues. And that was a huge hurdle for Miami to get past Boston. Sure, Boston was a lot of age on them, a lot of wear and tear, which showed, but still very dangerous. I think you'd agree, far more dangerous opponent than Atlanta.
Oh, for sure. No question about it. I mean, anytime you've got a veteran team that, can still get up and down the court, for most of the game, they're going to cause some problems. I just, 190, I'm a value guy. The Bulls have done it all year. Not to mention, heads up, during the regular season. Now, I'll be the first to admit, now that we're in the playoffs, and so often you see this with some of these other teams, when you got the veterans like LeBron and everything, they do take it up another notch during the playoffs that they don't show during the regular season. But every time they played the Bulls during the regular season, the Bulls won. 3-0, all Bulls. And all of those games were marquee games, either Thursday night TNT game or, a big game on TV. If you can't get up for those games during the regular season, when that's the number, at the time, Chicago was the up and rising star. They weren't the number 1 seed from pillar to post like San Antonio was. They were 3rd, 4th, but they kept getting better and better as the season progressed until they overtook that number 1 seed. I just think, given the 7 games, that the talent is equal here, and getting $1.70 with the Bulls is too much value to pass up. I'm going to go ahead and give an official free pick here. I'm taking the Bulls for the series at plus 170. It's not a best bet. We know my record with the best bets has been phenomenal. We've won the free picks. I'm making this a free pick. Bulls plus 170 for the series.
Well, anytime you sweep a team of that caliber, it's impressive. But remember, at the time, Miami was going through a tough stretch, and that's when the Bulls caught them that one time during that tough stretch. It's not so much what happens in the NBA during December and January. This is May now. It's a whole different game. Miami's at a whole different confidence level. The playoffs are entirely different than the regular season. I agree with you about the value being to the Bulls, but I have to go the other way as far as giving a series pick. And I just think I'm not going to go against LeBron and Wade, and I don't equate Bosh anywhere near their caliber, but he's not. Of course, he's not a bad player. But I just don't think the Bulls are quite at that level of these 2 superstars. And these guys have their confidence up now, and they slayed their dragon. And I think they're going to do it. I think it'll be a tough series, but I think Miami will be there at the end.
What a way to welcome the guy back. We're on opposite sides. I'm taking the Chicago Bulls plus 170. Steven thinks Miami's going to win the series. He agrees, though, you're paying a premium. The public all over Miami, in which you've got to expect. I mean, everybody knows LeBron James and everything that went on during the summer with the decision and everything. So we'll see how it plays out, but we'll be back. We're going to actually talk a little bit about LeBron James. We're going to do a little video about LeBron James and Derrick Rose and how they're going to match up in this series, and LeBron James in particular, because obviously the spotlight's going to be on him. And for Stephen Nover, I'm Marco D'Angelo. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with a preview of LeBron James versus Derrick Rose.